Hi, here's another example of comparing side-by-side box plots. Okay, this has to do with Dunkin' Donuts. Data was collected on the nutritional content in the food and beverages served at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, so we're comparing the two. The study shows data collected from the menus of each establishment. Data about the calorie, fat, carbohydrate, protein, and other fiber content of 20 items from each store was collected. 10 beverages and 10 food items were chosen and recorded. Okay, so this first box plot is comparing the protein. In Dunkin' Donuts, we have Dunkin' Donuts on the left and Starbucks on the right. Let me see if I can focus that any better. It's just really small. And Starbucks on the right. Okay, and then over here we have the box plot of fat content. Dunkin' Donuts on the left and Starbucks on the right. Okay, so for A, it says compare the distributions, shape, center, and spread, and unusual features, all four aspects, of the protein in the food and beverages at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about shape. What can we tell from our box plots? And this one is protein, so we're going to do the protein. Okay, so first, shape. Does it look symmetric or skewed? And these both are pretty short, and these are both pretty long. So these would both be skewed, and we need to, it's hard to do which way when it's on its side. Let's think about this for a minute. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. So if I were to flip this on down like this, because usually we would start with 0 here and we'd have 20 over here. So I think I'll even flip it because otherwise it's hard to tell. So this is the way we would expect our axis to go, 0 on the left and 20 to the right. So this is skewed to the right. We've got larger tails, longer tails to the right. Now we can't tell anything about modes from box plots, so we won't be able to do that. We can do the skew though. Okay, let me move this up. Okay, so let's say the shape, and both of them are skewed. The shape of the distribution of protein content at both stores is skewed to the right. Okay, so now we need to go for center. The center, because it's skewed, we're going to go for median, and also box plot gives us the median readily, which it doesn't give us the mean. But what's interesting to me is the medians look about the same. So the medians are about the same, and this looks to be about 5 grams of protein. So the medians are the same. At about 5 grams of protein. And then remember, what's the measure of spread that goes with the median? And it has to do with the box plot also. It's the IQR. So we're going to use the IQR for these. So we can kind of estimate it, right? I'm going to use my ruler to help. So here's the IQR for Dunkin' Donuts. Now this is just really a kind of a crude estimate here. Let's say that looks like 9 and that looks like 2 versus this one, which I'd say is the same, but it goes up here to about 12. Okay, so the point is Starbucks has a larger spread than Dunkin' Donuts. So they have about the same median, middle point, but Starbucks has a little more variety in terms of protein. So the median, oh sorry, I didn't mean to say median. Let's see if this will work. The IQR of the Starbucks items is larger at about, what did I say, 12 minus 2, so about 10 grams. The IQR at Dunkin', I just don't want to spell out donuts, is about 9 minus 2 is 7 grams. Okay, so about the same median, a little bit larger IQR for Starbucks, but look overall, Dunkin' Donuts has a couple of outliers where they have really high protein. Oh, 20 something, right? 20, maybe 23 and 24. Dunkin' Donuts has 2 items with the highest protein. And I'm estimating again 23 and 24 grams. Starbucks doesn't have any outliers, but they also, their highest is about 20. Okay, so that's one way you can compare. You can summarize the distributions of 2 at the same time. Okay, so try B if you haven't already. Just pause it and try it, and then I'll do it. Okay. So, same question. Compare the distributions, shape, center, and spread, and unusual features of the fat content in the food and beverages. Okay. So let's look at, first of all, the shape. What would you say the shape for each? I'd say Dunkin' looks very similar to these. Definitely looks skewed to the right. What do you think about Starbucks? Does it look more symmetric or more skewed? I would say it's close, but I would say it's a little more skewed because this width and this width are both a little wider than those two. So it's going to be a little bit skewed, but definitely not as much as Dunkin'. So now we're talking about the fat content. Okay, so the shape, I'm going to have to move this up. The shape of both distributions is skewed to the right. But the fat content, trying to get the context in there, the fat content at Dunkin' is much more skewed. It's also much more spread out, but that's the spread part. Okay, so there's our shape. Now center, where are the medians? Here, the Starbucks median is quite a bit lower, at least compared to those two. Let's compare these two numbers. So we've got 0 to 10. So this looks like maybe 4 and 8, something like that. Again, I'm just estimating. So if your numbers were different, that's totally fine as long as they're close. The median fat content at Starbucks, or of the Starbucks items, is about 4 grams compared with 8 grams at Dunkin'. Okay. So then the spread is also quite a bit higher, isn't it? This has quite a small spread, and especially if you look at the whole range, it's much smaller than that one. So let's estimate these IQRs. So this looks like about 8, and then this one is about here. So 8 to 2, about 6 grams. The IQR at Starbucks is about 6 grams of fat compared with let's see, for Dunkin', here's the upper quartile and here's the lower quartile. It's about the same as that one, slightly higher. That looks right about 15 to me, right about the middle. And that actually looks right about the middle also. So let's say 5 to 15, so about 10 grams of fat. Okay, so Dunkin' has the larger spread, and it also has an outlier. So we could say overall Dunkin' has quite a bit larger spread, and it has an outlier. I wonder what that item is. So let me move this down. The fat content is probably a good 35, 36 grams of fat. I don't know if it's the same thing that has high protein. I don't know. Could be something totally different. Okay, so let's see. How are we going to write this? The IQR at Starbucks is about 6 grams of fat compared with 10 grams at Dunkin'. I want to say overall there is much more spread in the Dunkin' items, and they have one outlier. Let's see if I can get this up here. One outlier item, or one item, food or drink, I don't know which one it is. One item that is an outlier at about 36 grams of fat. Okay, I hope that gives you a good example for comparing side-by-side box plots. And that's the end of this example. We'll see you next time.